Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 57 of the PTFooty podcast. Today, I am joined by Sam, as usual,
Hello.
Timo,
What's going on, everybody?
and a very special guest, Jan.
Good evening.
All right, good evening to you too. We got a really interesting show today. A lot to talk about, especially in the sporting department. So Sam's gonna have a lot of work today. But we're gonna kick it off with something that I wanted to touch upon last week, but we didn't really have the time to. And I want to get Jan's thoughts on the video ref because well, he's been, seeing everything that's been happening, all the drama, all the, everything that's been happening. And just from a more neutral side of view, from somebody that's not even, related to somebody from Portugal, how do you see the video referee helping things, Jan?
Well, I think I tweeted this several times, but it's really been a dark year in the year of Portuguese football. It's been so much shit throwing between clubs, towards the government of football and everything. So anything that can help bring some more help, especially to the referees who have been heavily criticized throughout the season and obviously other season, everything that can help them. I'm really in favor for it. So hopefully, if it works out, it can create a more, fair environment, and hopefully it will take a load of the poor referees in Portugal.
Right, but I got a question for you. And do you think that presidents and coaches are going to start going to press conferences and saying, "Hey, the referee should have reviewed this play and he didn't, and we didn't get a penalty for it"? You think that these things are still going to happen? Because what I'm just scared of is that the video referee will not only, let this continue. It will only add fire to the what's the saying?
Fuel to the fire.
Yeah, okay, fuel to the fire. There we go. Thank you.
Well, it's a good point, but as long as there are strict rules to what a video referee can look at and intervene the game with, I'm sure it's going to be kind of a mess at the start, but hopefully, and there should be some clear and strict rules to the whole thing. So hopefully we will get less of what you were describing, and a more fair game.
All right. To round up things, I think Timo normally has a very solid opinion about this, so I'm just gonna let you go on. I know you've talked about this before, but it's good to remind people.
Yeah, so, I think it's going to help in certain situations, but, I think you bring up a valid point where, not everything is reviewable. So I think that is going to be a big pain point for a lot of, crazy fans, if you will, where they're still going to cry bloody murder or think that one team is being favored over another when something that seems clear to them isn't being reviewed. I like the introduction of it in the sense of, reviewing all goals, making sure they were fine, but I still think more needs to be done. And I'm in favor of, video being reviewed during the week as well, in between games, for fouls and penalties and dives and whatnot. And, players being assessed penalties for diving after the fact, or, red cards being, appealed, and, maybe, adding an additional game if the player is deemed to be a repeated offender of diving or whatnot. Not to go too far, but I think it'll help in certain aspects, but I still think there's going to be a lot of outcrying from a lot of fans. I don't think it's as simple as everybody thinks it is.
Yeah, I agree. All right, but I think Sam, unless you want to add to this, I think we pretty much.
I pretty much agree with what Timo said. Just to the thing as well, if say if video is reviewed if a play is reviewed by the video referee in favour of, say, Benfica or Porto, and the call doesn't get given, or does get given, there's always that thing, the video referee is favouring Benfica or Porto are paying the video referee. To me, it just doesn't solve any problems.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But we're gonna keep our fingers crossed, and like Jan said, hope that he provides a more fair environment.
And at least we got to try, because it can't keep going on like it is now. That's at least my opinion.
No, that's a good point. But we'll see. We'll see. I'm still on the fence. And like Kubita said, sometimes being the pioneer is good, but sometimes being the pioneer is also bad because everybody's scared of making a mistake. But we'll see. Maybe it turns out good for Portugal. I just gotta hope. Anyway, so that's done with the video referee. That was pretty quick. Let's go on to preseason, and actually, let's go first with Sporting, because there's a lot to talk about them, and let's just spend a little bit on them. I know Sam's favorite subject, but not really good today, right? Could be better.
Well, could be better.
All right. So the first game that we're gonna, not even really talk about, because then we're gonna sum it up. But I'm just gonna give you, the lineups, and you have the lineups. But to the Fenerbahce game, right? You guys won 2-1. You had Hagen goal, Piccini, Coates, Matthew, and Coentrão. I believe that's the first time they play together. Petrovic alongside Bruno Fernandes, Bruno Cesar, Yuri, Alan Ruiz, and Bastos. I know this game's been a while ago, so your memory probably isn't the best. But could you just give me what you thought on Matthews and Coentrão's first game for Sporting?
I didn't think they played that poorly, but a lot of criticism from the Sporting fans was that they're very unfit and that they didn't look as motivated. But that's to be as expected for pre-season, especially with a guy like Coentrão who didn't play a lot of games for Real Madrid over the course of 4 or 5 years. So you don't expect him to come back and be so quick and lightning fast and full of energy, because he hasn't played a lot. And obviously his confidence probably isn't there as well, considering, obviously, like you say, Marcelo is one of the best left backs in the world, but to just be sat on the bench every game or be in the reserves every game for Real Madrid, it must take an impact on your confidence and make you think if you're a good enough player. Matej, I don't know about Matej really, because I know we're just talking about the Fenerbahce game, but over the couple of games that we played, he wasn't. I didn't think he was up to standard. If it were, I think we could have tried other players there in that position. A guy who recently left, but I'll save that for
a little bit later
on.
Yeah. All right.
Just one more thing about that game as well. I thought, surprisingly, Petrovic played quite well. He's starting to. Georgies looks like he's starting to put a lot of faith into him, especially with the rumour of getting rid of Palhinha on loan, or maybe even selling him to have Petrovic, Battaglia, and William. So, who knows?
All right. Giving you the lineup of the second game, this one against Valencia, where you guys lost 3-0. Same goalkeeper, for some reason. Piccini, Coates, Matthew, and Coentrão. So once again, these 4 getting a chance to play together. Battaglia, though, in this time with Bruno Fernandes, Yuri and Podence on the wings with Dumbia and Bastos. So how did they do together, Dumbia and Bastos, in their first game?
Honestly, I didn't watch this game. I was at work, but from what I hear on the defensive side, that's what I mentioned earlier about Coentrão and Matej being unfit. They really showed in this game. As Bayag as well, I don't really like him. I don't know how he's still at Sporting, because every time he seems to play, he just concedes so many and plays so poorly that I think maybe Pedro Silva or Stojkovic should have been given a chance instead. But who scored for Sporting, by the way? Do you know?
Did anybody score for Sporting in that game? I don't even.
You said 3-1, no?
No, for sure I said 3-0. But hold on, let me double check. Let me double check. Valencia 3-0 Sporting. Let me just check if I was right. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. But let me check. No, it was 3-0. It was 3-0.
Okay, all right. So obviously, Bastos and Dembia partnership wasn't very good in this game.
Right, fair point.
Excuse me.
Now one more game. So we still have one more game after this one, and then we'll actually talk a little bit further in depth of what you thought about the players and the game actually played. This is a problem with preseason. I mean, Sporting is playing back to back.
Yeah, what was it? A day after we played Valencia?
Yeah, basically. Asbe Young still in goal. Tobias, Coates, Matthew, Jonathan Silva, Piccini, Petrovic, Bruno Fernandes, Podence, Alan Ruiz, and Bastos. And I just got to ask you, how did these guys, the three at the back, how did that work out?
Oh, God. I don't know how to describe it, because it was like, if we didn't concede too many, more than people thought we would, but in the centre-backs we have, Tobias I don't really rate him. I've never rated him as he was at Sporting. I don't think he played very well. I think the one thing I have with him, he doesn't play well with the ball at his feet, and I find that to be a problem with centre backs, as well as he just was with a relegated team Nacional. So obviously, I was talking about confidence earlier. That's got to diminish his confidence too. But three at the back, I don't think Sporting should continue to run with. But apparently, JJ wants to keep it as like a rotational formation.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that he said that it was pretty good. They worked out pretty well. So
we must be watching different games, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what he saw there, but all right. Now on to the final game against Marseille. Also another loss, so 3 losses in a row. But finally, Asbeya gets dropped after that terrible mistake in that game against Basel. So Pedro Silva was in goal, Piccini, Coates, Matthew, and Coentrão. I mean, I am 100% sure that's going to be the back four going into the season, because they played way too many games together if they're not going to be, the starting guys. Petrovic, Bataglia, Bruno Fernandes, Bruno Cesar, Alan Ruiz, and Bastos. Now, this game should be fresh in your memory. What were your thoughts on the Marseille game?
The defense was poor and was so, especially Mateo Coentrão side they just didn't gel together, and I think that's where most of the Marseille attacks came from. A lot of Sporting fans were tweeting at the SEP updates EN page saying that the defense really needs some work. Maybe we need another right back or left back to come as a backup, or even they said getting rid of Tobias or loaning out a few people. A lot of criticism I saw as well about Domingos Duarte when he was loaned out, that they say he's better than Tobias, and these young guys aren't getting chances. Obviously, we know JJ isn't what's the word I'm looking for? Isn't too keen with youth players and prefers the more experienced ones. Obviously it's pre-season, you can't really judge that much, but I think if Coentrão and Mateo show signs of what they're doing now in the regular season, they need to be dropped straight away, or they need to be put on some sort of fitness regime, because they just look slow and they looked out of it, in my opinion, as well.
Right. Jan, did you watch some Sporting games? Do you have any thoughts on the newest signings?
Yeah, I did see the Marseille game. I wasn't too impressed, to be honest. Every time Marseille seemed to put up the pace, Sporting really struggled to follow them. So, and especially as at the back, as Sam mentioned, Coentrão and Mathieu were not impressive at all, and they need to do something about their fitness very quickly, because the season aren't too far away and they look way out of it.
I mean, Jan, is it troubling for Sporting that Champions League football is right around the corner in a playoff game and those guys look completely out of shape?
Yeah, I think that is a bit worrying. And actually, I would like to see Domingos Duarte actually get a shot in Sporting's first team, because he is far better than Tobias, and I can't really get my head around Domingos being loaned out and Tobias still being at Sporting. With that said, I think it's a good thing Sporting are racking up all these games because they need match fitness quick. But I really hope they can show some positives in the next few games. Although I got to say, from what I've read, Bruno Fernandes has been impressive, at least in the few first games. So I hope to see more of him.
Right, and to be fair about that Domingos Duarte thing, maybe Tobias is playing for his Sporting future, while Domingos already has, pretty much, I don't know, a shot into the first team next season. So maybe that's why they're giving Tobias those extra games of preseason to see if he's worth sticking around with or just sell him.
Yeah,
so
that's a good.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, team.
This can either be for any of you, in particular Jan and Sam, though. Do you think that Mathieu and Fabio Coentrão are looking, poor at this point? Do you think the midfield has anything to do with it? With the lack of William playing in front of them to support. Do you think that's, a factor, or do you think they're just really that, piss poor in match fitness at this point?
Do you want to take it, Jan, or do you want me to go?
You can take it.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I do think that William is such a big player in the midfield, not just like literally, but he also I think he has a lot of leadership about him as well, that he controls what goes in front of him and behind him. He's obviously really good at stopping attacks as well. Do you think it's just Coentrão and Matei's fitness? Because I thought Piccini played pretty decently on the right side, and Coates has always just been. What were you saying?
I was gonna say I read that he wasn't too impressive to Sporting fans, but I guess I must be getting the wrong impression.
Well, no, I have different opinions, but I thought he played decently from what I saw, better than Scalotto anyway. But
not a big upgrade.
Yeah, well, but Coates, obviously, I always have rated Coates, but I think maybe we can start to judge Sporting when William and even Patricio and Adrian come back.
Fair enough. Jan, do you want to share your thoughts on, what Timo just asked?
Well, it's obviously something completely different having Petrovic and Bataglia in midfield instead of Adrian and William, but Coentrão and Mathieu, they really looked so out of shape. It didn't look like they've taken care of themselves at all during the summer, and well, they haven't played much the last few years, but I expected more. And well, you talked about Piccini. I gotta say I agree with Sam. I think he was good, and I also was impressed with Podence, who was quite bright when he came off the bench.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Timo, I think you're gonna say something.
Yeah. Do you think the tandem of Coates and Mathieu is going to be a little bit slow? Mathieu is not exactly a speedy guy. I mean, I know he's tall, and Coates as well. Coates I think has a little bit of speed, but he's not. I mean,
he's not Jardel,
if you will. Do you think that's going to be an impact, or do you think that'll have an impact on when they play against very speedy teams, or do you think they'll just be sitting back a little bit more as opposed to moving forward?
For Coates, I've always said that his football knowledge and his ability to read the game makes up for his lack of pace, sort of similar to Ricardo Carvalho in the Euros when he played.
Yeah.
But with Mateu, I don't know how to say his name.
Matthew, it doesn't matter.
I'll just go with Mateu.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure. Obviously, played really good when he was at Valencia, and he was really good there. But when he goes to Barcelona, I think he did have some pace about him at Valencia, but I think not playing really made him lose his pace, as he wasn't playing in many games. But maybe him and Coates can form like just a partnership of reading the game well. But from what I see, Coates is at the moment with Mateu in terms of quality.
Without a doubt.
Can I take this? Can I share my 2 cents? I think it's very, very troubling. Maybe what JJ was trying to do with Matthew and Coates was maybe to try and do kind of a Luizão Jardel type of duo. But the issue is that Coates would be the fastest guy, but he's nowhere near, Jardel's pace. While I don't even know if Matthew has, the mental strength and the knowledge of Luizão. So I think that that's not going to work out too well for them. I mean, especially when you're talking about teams, that play on the counter and with very, very fast guys. And if there's something that our league has, is very fast players. So I don't know if by week 5 those two are going to play together, because if they get exploited, like they probably should be, and I think that you guys know that one of Marseille's goal is basically just a guy running through them. I think that's going to be a big issue.
I mean, I just see all the news about, Adrian and William leaving. And if I were, and I know, Sam, I know your opinion and many others, Sportingista opinion about Adrian and him wanting to leave. But losing those two, I think, will make a big impact in the midfield. I understand Bruno Fernandes is a very, very quality player, and from what I've seen of Battaglia, I've liked what he's, I've liked what I've seen. I just don't think those two compare to Adrian and William, and especially, thinking defensively, what William actually does on the field for the defense in front of him, it would be the same thing as Benfica losing Fischer, where, it's a person who clogs up so much space, in front of those two players, and who knows how to play, in between, either center back or in between a center back and one of the fullbacks. I think William does do that pretty well, and I think that will be a big loss. Have to, central defenders who are center backs who I don't think, have the pace to really chase down a player, where, we've seen William may not, and he may not chase somebody down after they get past him. You rarely do see William put himself in a position where he has to make a long run to chase somebody down. He's usually already waiting for the player. I think that's going to be a big impact to Doumbia and Bastos may score 100 goals between them. Sporting is probably going to give up more goals than they did last year if that's the case.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to say anything else, Tim? Sorry, I kind of cut you off.
No, that was it. I think I've said enough.
Yeah. So let's move on to Paulo Oliveira, shall we? I think, unless anybody else wants to say anything about the games played.
Not me.
No thanks.
All right, I'll take that as a yes, and let's move on. Paulo Oliveira is sold to Eibar, and let's focus on what we know. Okay, 3.5 million fee. I don't think it's official that Sporting have a buyback clause.
I believe it is.
Can somebody confirm to me that it's actually official and written on the news that they actually have a buyback clause?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I mean, I have not seen that. I've seen the fee, but not the buyback clause yet.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm pretty sure it was on their site that they had in the statement. They wrote that they had a buyback clause.
All right, let me double check, but I'll just ask you guys, what do you think about the fee and about the player leaving? I think it's bad business, but, well, just share your thoughts on it.
On a player who doesn't play, it's not bad business to me to sell a player of Paulo Oliveira for 3.5 million, especially not if we don't even buy him back. He has a 20%, I believe, 20% sell-on fee. So even if he does turn out to be this amazing player at Eibar, there is still a chance that Sporting get a percentage of the fee that he could go for, as well as I think there was no point in just keeping him here if. Obviously, he wanted to play, and I don't think there was a point of keeping him on the bench, especially with the signings of Pinto and Mateu.
Jan, what do you think?
Well, I think it's a good thing for Pablo Oliveira that he's leaving, because being a third, fourth choice at Sporting, it's not enough for a player who easily could have been a starter at maybe not a club at a similar size, but at least at a Braga, Vitória Guimarães size club. Then, yeah, I think it's a good move for him. But the fee and the selling clause and the buyback clause, it makes it a very non-risky business for Sporting if they can get him back on a free for a
cheap.
On a cheap. Yes, thanks. So I think it's a low-risk business by Sporting, but yeah, good move for Paulo. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm at the IBAR website, sdibar.com, and they actually have an English version. So the only thing that says that Paulo Oliveira has joined SD IBAR after the Armeros reached an agreement with Sporting Clube Portugal to bring the player to Iporun. What? Okay. Portuguese defender Oliveira, 25, blah, blah, blah. He's a powerful center back in the blah, 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 blah. And then just says he has been capped by the Portuguese national side and put pen to paper on a 4-year deal with IBAR, tying him to the Armeros until June 2021. So if they actually have a buyback clause, I don't know. But even if it is, I don't see Sporting just taking him back. I think if they wanted him, they would have, they would have just not sold him.
I think. Oh, go on, Jan.
But they can, if he does well, and I don't want to use him, they can buy him back cheap and sell him for a bigger buck. So
that's a fair point.
Yeah, I was gonna say that if the experiment with Mateu and Pinto fails, who knows? Instead of going out and buying an unproven youth player, we could just buy back Paulo Oliveira to come and fill the void.
Right, that's a good point.
I think whatever Sporting decides to do with him, obviously they've sold him, but I think it's in Portugal's best interest for him to get game time and play and improve. Hopefully, nobody here has forgotten that. Our youngest center back right now in the national team is whom?
Net.
Or is it Neto? Oh, and he's 29, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that leaves after him, who Neto's he's all right. That leaves us with a bunch of they're not old because that's my age, but they're in their mid-30s.
You don't want to call yourself old.
No, damn. Well, I mean, I'm not in their shape. They're in excellent condition, so they're a lot younger than I am body-wise.
Yeah, that's true, and I think everybody likes Paulo Oliveira, so I just hope he does well. Moving on now, Acuna was signed. I mean, I don't know a thing about this guy. Sam, have you watched the YouTube highlights? Because I know a lot of people like going on YouTube and check what they got.
No, I haven't actually watched any highlights of him because I've seen Steph tweet it out, but I haven't actually had the time to watch it yet. But from what I hear from Argentina fans and just the media in Argentina, he was voted the best Argentine league player of that season. So he can't exactly have not shown quality for Sporting to invest the money in him. All that I hope is when we've bought players from those type of leagues before, I know Teo Gutierrez is a great example, that they always struggle to fit in. So hopefully Acuna comes in and settles quite quickly.
Jan, do you know anything about this guy?
No, very little, unfortunately. I know he played for the Argentinian national team, though. That should be a decent sign.
Right, that's a good point. I think that pretty much covers it for Sporting, right? Who do they play? Do you know if they play this week?
Monaco. On the 22nd, which is a Saturday.
Oh, same day as Benfica's playing as well. Okay. Good. All right, let's move on then, and let's talk about what we have the least to talk about. So just get that out of the way, and that's Porto. I mean, I'm sorry, Porto fans, but I'm striving to get things, but like, sorry. Porto played Cruz Azul. They decided to go to Mexico to play 3 in the morning, so nobody could watch them. So yeah, nobody watched them. Sorry about that, guys. I'll give you the lineup, and we'll just talk a couple things, and we'll move on. Casillas in goal, Ricardo, Felipe, Marcano, and Telles across the back. Then it's a normal 11. Normal back four there. Oliver, Mikel, Otávio, Brahimi, Suarez, and Corona. So it looks like they're going with a 4-3-3. Yeah, and I'm just going to ask you one thing about Porto. I know you didn't watch the game, but you don't need to answer this question. Do you think that they can hold on to Ricardo?
Well, that depends on whether someone is going to activate his release clause. I think Porto are very keen on keeping him because at this point, I think he is easily the best right back in the league. And Maxi Pereira is, well, he showed some faults last season and is not just what he used to be. So Ricardo Pereira could be a huge reinforcement for Porto, and hopefully they manage to keep hold of him because he could be an important part of their campaign next season.
Hopefully they don't keep him. Just messing with you. I don't know if they can keep a hold of him, but we'll see. And the other thing worth reporting is that Vanna is signed for Porto. Does anybody have any thoughts about this signing?
I think that's a great signing for them.
Yeah, I agree. Vanna was superb for. I don't think he will challenge Casillas for his spot, but he is definitely a good replacement when Casillas leaves, probably next season. And then they'll have José Sá and Vanna. So I think they're have a good pair of goalkeepers there.
All right, but I got my own question. Like, where does this leave Jessá, though? Because I don't know if Vanna is going to get signed to be the third string goalkeeper.
No, hopefully he will go on loan because he can't keep on sitting on Porto's bench. He's too good for that, and he needs the game time and for his development. And he is potentially the future national goalkeeper, so hopefully he will find himself a decent club and
maybe back to Maritim.
Yeah,
that'd be good. That'd be good. They're in the Europa League, so. But yeah, I just hope that this doesn't really stall Jessá's development, because I know everybody really likes him, and I know Timo likes him as well.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Jessá. I just think the games that I actually watched him feature in towards the end of last season, he struggled. I agree with Jan. I think that has a lot to do with game rhythm and not getting much time. That was a big pickup for Porto. I mean, I think he's a phenomenal goalie. And what he did against Porto, and I mentioned that, I believe, the last time I was on, was phenomenal. I mean, he single-handedly stole 2 points away from Porto. I mean, he was unbelievable. But I think with José, I think the good thing with him is to loan him out, because I can't see him being the second. And I also don't think he's too good to be the third choice. So I think he needs to be loaned out. And again, that's another case, for Portugal, where we need, our young guys to improve.
To play.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Last thing on Porto, they play today 1 a.m. in Portugal against the Chivas. So I won't be watching that, but there you go.
That's tonight?
Yeah, that's tonight.
I'll try to watch that.
Okay, good. And last thing, I actually forgot to mention this Sporting-related news, is that Flora Andone, and I don't know who he is, but he said that his agent told him that Sporting offered 10 million to sign him. So I think he plays for Deportivo or something like that. But there you go. There's just Sporting are in a spending mood this season. All right. Now on to Benfica, and then we'll talk the other three teams that we said we were going to. Benfica played Neuchâtel Xamax in their first preseason game. They won 2-0. Jonas and Seferovic scored. Timo, did you watch this game before I say anything else?
That one I did.
Okay, that's good. Júlio César in goal, André Almeida, Jardel, Rubem Dias, and Hermes. Cria, Filipe Augusto, Diogo Gonçalves, Serbi, Jonas, and Seferovic. I just want to ask you what you thought about the the new signings. How do you think they did? I don't know, but I've fallen for Cria. For some reason, I think that kid, I see something in him. So I just hope he comes up good.
So I think Krian looked pretty good. I liked his movement on the field. I think for me, the player I was most impressed with was Diogo Gonçalves. I mean, how that kid in any way could be sent back to the B team, I really think he needs to be given a chance. The only way he goes to the B team is if he needs to play more minutes, and he's obviously the starter there. Seferovic, I was with. I think he's very similar to Mitroglou. I just think he does a lot more work. So it's almost as if you have Mitroglou and Raul. I think I really think we're going to be seeing either Mitroglou or Raul being sold before the transfer window is closed. That's I know that'll be upsetting to you, Peter, if it's Mitroglou, because you're a big fanboy.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm a fan of him obviously as well. But it was one of those players where on a different podcast they mentioned how with Steve, how we mentioned he looked up the stats, and obviously when Benfica started looking at this guy, everybody started mentioning, well, this guy scored 5 goals in the last 45 games or whatever, and you're like, well, that's not great for a striker, which obviously it's not, but the work rate, I think Benfica will be greatly appreciated in and out of the box.
Yeah. Thanks. I was just going to say that since the rumors were that we were going to sign him, I was kind of curious, and I always try and defend strikers. You know how I am. And
of course,
what really impressed me and I really enjoyed is that, and especially in this game against Young Boys that that you didn't watch, but you could just see that him and Jonas are just so in sync right now, and it's crazy. It's been 3 weeks. And they look like they read each other's minds. You know how Lima plays? That's just how Seferovic reminds me of.
Yeah. I mean, I think it'll be a big I think he's going to play a big part in the season. So I really do think somebody else is going.
Yeah, it has to. I mean, that has to happen.
The one thing I'd like to
hopefully
say...
Hopefully it's Raul, though.
I would hope so, too, because obviously he would command a much larger fee than Mitroglou at this point. So, if we have to get rid of one, it should be him, just solely based on the fee itself. The one guy I'd really like to see us, man, is that guy terrible? And I know there's a lot of people who say, oh, got to give him a chance, game rhythm, whatever. I'm playing the B team last year, the last, I think, 3 games of the season, and he looked awful. The guy can't defend. He truly reminds me of who, was converted to a left back, but forgets that he's a left back and not a winger. Even going up the pitch, I don't see much from him. I see him lose the ball. He goes and tries going in on a one-on-one, and he gets knocked over pretty easily, and then that's it. Want him? I don't want him anywhere near the field. for the main squad. I really don't.
Mm-hmm. All right. I don't know. Let me just get over to the Young Boys game so I can share my thoughts on the players. Benfica lost 5-1 to Young Boys. I'll get to that in a sec. Júlio César in goal, André Almeida, Jardel, Lisandro, and Hermes across the back. Feza, Felipe Augusto, Diogo Gonçalves playing again, Rafa Jonas, and Seferovic. First of all, the reason why Benfica ended up losing this game big was Jonas decided to take the stupidest penalty in his life, and second, we had no defensive midfielder starting the 70th minute, and two goals were basically scored in 5 minutes, and one of them was a great goal. So I wouldn't really be too worried about it, being Benfica fans, because just you got to take into consideration everything that happened during that game, and even if Jonas scores that penalty, it's 2-2, and Benfica probably gets the win. But all right, on more to the players. Adamish, so to just get a different side of what Tim was saying is that I feel like the criticism is correct. I'm not taking that away from you or anybody else that criticizes him, but just what I want to see is, for example, Pedro Pereira, and I know that I've defended him here, and even Sam tweets me at me all the time because I defend and say that he's a good player, but he hasn't showed me anything at all. And I just don't see people go all over him like they go on Ems. Like, we need to remember that, Ems came a year from not playing and he signed for free. So it was like, sometimes they hit, sometimes they miss. But like, the fact that people are jumping on him faster than they are on Pedro Pereira just kind of shows that there's a little bit, that we're more acceptant of our own guys, which I'm not saying it's bad, but let's just hold the horses, because both our right back and left back haven't shown us anything to be too happy with.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. I think, Pedro Pereira hasn't been given enough criticism. I really don't think I've given him enough criticism, but I think he's better defender than Adams. So, Pedro Pereira being 19, Adams being 22, you would think Adams would be a little bit more, I don't want to say seasoned, because, 3 years isn't much, but I mean, Pedro Pereira is still growing, Adams is probably as far as he's going to go, strength-wise. And I don't see anything good coming from him. I don't think I've seen a single good defensive play from him. I've seen him do a couple of, good plays here and there defensively. I just think his issue is he's ready yet. I think Pedro Pereira belongs on the B team, not on the main squad. Belong on either one.
Fair enough. Let's see. Just one more thing. What was I going to say? Yeah.
How'd Lisandro look in that game?
Oh my God. What do you think?
So my same criticism, where I don't want him anywhere near it.
Yep. Bro, it's crazy. Everybody on Twitter, the criticism is general at this point. He's terrible.
He's got the tools. He's got the feet, and he's got the technical ability. He just doesn't have the brain for it.
Exactly.
It's kind of like what I used to say about Pizzi. Pizzi has the brain, but he doesn't have the feet. He proved me wrong. I think his feet got a little bit better last year. I think Lisandro is the opposite. I think he's got great feet, but his mind just doesn't work. He just makes the wrong mistake or makes the wrong move every time.
He offers the play, like the timing, like the first goal that they score. He just put that ball out of there, like instead of just trying to play out of the back or something. He just put that ball. Like, he made so many stupid mistakes. And you think, this guy is 28. I don't know.
Is he that old already? Oh.
Yeah. And like, who is offering, like 5 million or 6 million for this guy? You just run away with it, because he is old, and you know, or he's getting on the older side, and he's just not worth, you know, keeping around. So, but yeah, he was really bad. He was really, really bad. I'm just checking. Yeah, it's 27, about to turn 28. So there you go. But yeah, Lisandro's terrible. Let's just keep it calm, guys. Don't worry about it. Things will get better. Don't worry. It's just a preseason game. It wasn't against Arsenal, so we're good. Anyway,
we wouldn't have lost because they don't have Sonogo anymore. So
yeah,
we would have beat Arsenal.
That's a fair point. So before we talk, you know, Smido and Sally's real quick, I just want to get Jan's thoughts on our newest signings, on Benfica's new signings, and how you think they played so far. I mean, only 2 games, but what do you think?
I haven't actually watched any of Benfica's games so far, but I gotta say I'm really excited about the signing of Krovinovic. He was so good for Rio Ave in the second half of last season, and well, I'm really excited to see what he can do in that number 8 role in Benfica's midfield. Also excited about the signing of Chris Willock. He's obviously not first team material yet, but I think he can do great things at Benfica with Rui Vitória's guidance. He's been so good with young players, and I think he's another one who will come true and really shine in the future. Besides that, it's a bit worrying, as you guys talk about defensively. I think Benfica really need to sign someone, both at centre back and at the right back, because from the little I've seen, Pedro Pereira is not ready to replace Ruben Semedo, and Andre Almeida is
average.
Yes, that's the word for it. But it's such a downgrade from going from Semedo to Almeida. I don't want to say anything bad about Andre, but that's
the truth. Don't worry about it. We know.
But I really hope Benfica go out and sign someone who can make that fall a bit shorter.
Yeah. I just want to say that keep an eye out for Buta, because I really like the kid, and I think he might have a chance to play. So, I mean, might just have our new right back right there. So just don't forget the name. So let's move on now. Nelson Smith got sold. What do you guys think of the deal? I personally really like it, and especially the 5 million every 50 games for the first 2 contracts that Semedo gets. Who wants to take it?
I'll say it's a great deal for Benfica, and also much like Timo said about Paulo Oliveira, I think it's great for Semedo because he's no disrespect to the Portuguese league, but he's playing at a much higher level and will be progressing in the stages of the Champions League as well. He'll get to show how he can handle the top level football, and I think everyone here likes Nelson Semedo, and even as a sporting fan, I can say that he's probably one of the best right backs probably in Europe at the moment. So hopefully he fulfills that potential, and like I said, good deal for Benfica.
Right. Timo.
I agree with Sam. Definitely a good deal. I would have liked to see a little bit more up front, so instead of 30, maybe 40.
Right.
But understandable. The fact that Benfica could get, 5 million for every 50 games featured over the next 2 contracts, that, potentially, what could that be? Could that be another 40, another 50 million? So, it's definitely a good opportunity for Benfica to cash in on Nelson, while, putting him on a team where I think is the best team or the best fit for him. I really think his style of play and his how good he is on the ball, 1v1, and even defensively, when he'll have to defend, I think he's improved a lot. That's the area of the game, I think, where last season he truly did improve, where, there really
weren't a lot of mistakes made by him.
Right.
I think, for Barcelona, I think it's the best possible right back that they could get, other than maybe, say, Dani Alves, who was already there. It's somebody who's good with the feet, excellent on crosses, can shoot, as he, showed us last year with, a goal with his left foot, a goal with his right foot. And I'm just sad that it's Barcelona, because I'm not a Barca fan, but I think for him it's the best fit for him, and I'm happy for the player, obviously, and I want to see him succeed. Selfishly also for Portugal. Yeah.
I just want to point out, because you were talking about up front. There's rumors that Wikipedia apparently rejected 40 million in favor of 35 plus 5 and the extra during the 2 contracts. So, I'd rather take the lesser fee right now with the ability of gaining, extra 10 million.
No, that's for sure. You have the ability to gain a lot more.
Yeah. So Jan, what do you think of the transfer? Of Nelson Semedo to Barcelona.
I think it's a great deal for Barca. I think it's a great deal for Nelson Semedo, because outside of Portugal, he's such an underrated right back, because first of all, because very few watch the Portuguese league and don't get to see him week in, week out, because they really did miss out on something, because he's been such a solid performer. He's so consistent. Every game he produces plenty of opportunities and chances for Benfica, and yeah, I'm happy for him, because as Sam said, it's a good move for him to get more coverage from worldwide press, and it's a very well-deserved move, and I'm looking forward to watch him at Barcelona.
All right. Just 2 quick final topics on Benfica, and Timo, I want you to be as brief as you can, because I know you can do that. You have that ability. What are you thinking of both Celis getting sold and Eliseu getting a new contract?
On Celis, we got him for free, if I'm not mistaken. So selling him,
2.5 million actually, but that's all right.
That's we actually paid. I read something that he was on a free.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Nah, 2.5 million.
Good sale. I don't see anything. What are we getting from him? What did we do with him? He didn't really provide much, so I'm okay with that. Eliseu, smart move. Grimaldo, having been injury prone so far in his career, I think having Eliseu as the backup is never a bad thing. Player who's has shown what he can do, and mature, and I think it's a good move for even just in the locker room, if you will.
All right. I think that pretty much sums it really well. All right. Now let's get on to one of the final topics right before the questions. And I just want to point out, and I want to get this out for everybody. I've been doing these shorts about each team in the league. They're about 10 minutes long. And I just take a team and I dissect what they did last season and what they think they can do this season. And we're kind of going to try and do that with Jan here, with Braga, Marítimo, and Guimarães. So let's start off with Braga here. And Jan, I'm just going to ask you what you thought of their season, because I think they underachieved, to be quite honest.
Yeah, they were probably the biggest disappointment of the whole season. They had such a strong squad, massive depth as well, and although they lost Rafa Villaboli and Felipe Pardo last summer, their squad was still very good, at least by Portuguese standards. And yeah, I was just so underwhelmed by their whole season, and it didn't help anything getting rid of José Peseiro. because Jorge Simão did nothing. Did not do any better. And well, I look forward to see what Abel Ferreira can do with this side. It's still strong. They haven't lost too many players this summer so far, and they've signed some really solid players from Marítimo and Sporting as well. So excited about that. But well, their whole season was a disaster in my eyes. Third place in their Europa League group. It was not that tough. They lost the Taça da Liga to Moreirense in the final, which was again underwhelming. So yeah, that word pretty much sums up their whole season.
What do you expect from them this season, though? What do you think? Do you think that they'll topple Guimarães and become the fourth best team in Portugal, or what do you think?
Right now, it seems to me that Braga has the better squad, but I expect Vitória to make some good signings towards the end of the window, some good loan signings. But I am anxious to see what Abel Ferreira can do. They still have pretty good depth at every position, and just this day they signed Ricardo Horta on a permanent deal from Malaga, which is
pretty good.
A huge signing. He was probably their best player last season alongside Wilson Eduardo. So yeah, they have at least a good squad. So I'm not too sure what Abel Ferreira stands for in terms of formation and strategy, but I hope he can improve them this season.
All right. And one final topic on Braga. Do you have like any players to watch? Any players people should keep an eye out for?
Well, they have plenty of youngsters. They have actually impressed me a lot with how many good young players they have in their squad. Pedro Neto, who got his debut last season as the second youngest ever player to participate in the Portuguese league. And they also have Jordão, another midfielder. They are 18 and 17 years old, so it's probably a bit early, but I expect to see something from them this season. And except from that, I look forward to see André Moreira, who Benfica didn't manage to lock down, and Paulinho, who they signed from Gil Vicente, who has looked very good in the preseason so far.
All right. Just before we move on to Marítimo, I just want to point out that the André Moreira deal. So from what I've gathered, take this with a grain of salt. They didn't join Benfica because, first of all, they agreed a deal with Atletico for 5 million euros, and then Atletico said no and said 7 million euros, and then they said no once again, and they wanted to loan him out for a season with a mandatory 10 million buy clause, and they would triple or quadruple André Moreira's salary % of it the first season. So just take that with a grain of salt, but apparently that's what they were trying to do with Benfica, and that's why he ended up joining Braga. But it's good for him that he joined Braga. We'll see.
Yeah, they do have Marafona, though, but he is injured for, I don't know, 5-6 months. So Moreira will be a starter at Braga. That's good.
Yeah. Marítimo. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they overachieved this season, right?
Yeah, they really did. But Daniel Ramos really did a fantastic work after taking over for Gusmão, because Marítimo's season was headed towards relegation with 4 losses in 5 games. But then Ramos came in and he really turned their season around with his defensive approach to the game and pragmatic style. Marítimo actually had the 3rd best defensive record in the league, so that's really impressive. And they didn't lose a single home league game under his guidance. So he didn't have the best squad, but he really made the best of it, and their back four really performed.
Solid. Yeah.
So well.
So what do you expect from them this next season, though? Do you think that they take a step back? It's almost take a step back.
Well, I think it will be difficult to copy what they did last season. They lost Patrick Vieira to Benfica, Raul Silva and Fran Sergio and Diego Sousa to Braga, which is all key players. One is the top scorer, the other is the captain. The third, Sousa was suspended for most of the season, but he's a good striker. And so they've lost 4 or 5 key players. What they have brought in is, well, not that, I don't know, they're not that famous or well known. Although they have signed Ricardo Valente from Vitoria, which I think is a good signing. Yeah. And they all still have Erdem Zen, who probably was one of the best defensive midfielders in the league last season. So, but as I said, it will be difficult to achieve copy and achieve what they did this season. But hopefully they'll manage to get past the third qualifying round in the Europa League. So Portugal will get some coefficient points.
Yeah, that'd be good. The final question on Maritim. Do you have any players to watch?
Well, they did sign one interesting player, Everton, a Brazilian striker who was actually the top scorer in Bahrain last season. So it will be interesting to see what he can bring to the team and to the league. And they still got Luis Martins, who they signed last January, very good left back. So, well, I think it will be a tougher season for Daniel Ramos and his men, but I expect them to stay solid at the back, and hopefully they can bring in some good players to help them up front as well.
All right. And now Guimarães. So I also think they overachieved this season. What do you think?
Well, I actually think they did it obviously very well, but I wouldn't say overachieved because they had a good squad. And Pedro Martins was done well with Rio Ave before and Marítimo. He continued his great work here. It's kind of a very exciting mix of players. It's a few African players, it's a few South American, it's a lot of Portuguese players as well. So, and he lost a few important pieces throughout the season. He lost João Pedro to LA Galaxy, and he lost Tiquinho Soares to Porto, but they still continue to play good, attacking, entertaining football. So, and especially their game against Sporting early on, where they came back from 3-0 down and got their 3-3 draw. It was one of the most memorable games of the season. And yeah, overall I think they did it really well. And it's too bad they lost a few of their guys, but hopefully they can find some new gems and turn them into great players and have another good campaign, and hopefully they can earn Portugal some points in the Europa League.
So what do you expect from them this next season? Is it fair to put the pressure on them to be the first team, or the first team outside of the big three?
Well, perhaps because they've lost Marega and Nani back to Porto, which both were huge for Vitória last season. They've lost Bruno Gaspar to Fiorentina, who also was immense last season. But they kept their centre-back pairing of Josué Zá and Pedro Henrique, and they still have Bungani Sungu in midfield, who all were crucial to their season. So if they manage managed to bring in some more decent players. Hopefully, they can build on last season and continue to grow as one of Portugal's bigger clubs.
Last but not least, on Guimarães, players to watch for next season.
I'm actually very excited to watch Francisco Ramos from Porto. I think he has some special qualities that can make him a really, really good player if he gets the time. And also their left back, Gisline Konan. I think he was really good, especially in the second half of the season. And of course, Bongani Sungu, as I mentioned, he's definitely a midfielder to watch. And I wouldn't be too surprised if he ends up at either one of the big three, maybe in the very short future.
Last question that I got for you is, who do you think can challenge and be, an underdog, overachieving? Because, well, while I was doing, my episodes on some teams, I think Setúbal have a very solid chance of making it to sixth place. Who do you think is that team that was just outside of Europe and has a chance to make it this year?
I think first of all, I agree with you. Vitória Setúbal have done some great signings this window, and they've kept most of their squad, so it's definitely something to build on there. But first of all, I want to highlight Chaves as probably the biggest contender for the Europa League spot next season, because they've signed some brilliant players, and they brought in the Rio Ave manager. I can't remember his name. Luis Castro, of course. And I think he's a good manager who can really take Chaves up one new step. But also Rio Ave have brought in some interesting players, especially from Benfica. So I think it will be a tight race, but I expect at least those three, Vitória and Braga, to fight it out for the three Europa League spots.
All right. Now, just before we move on to questions, I want to ask the other guys, just real quick, but different type of questions. I'll ask Timo one, and I'll ask Sam the other. Timo, who has a better chance of finishing fourth place right now, do you think? Braga, Marítimo, Guimarães, Rio Ave?
I'm actually going to go with Marítimo.
All right, that's a fair point. Why do you say them over the others?
They were tough to play at their home for the whole league. So if they can improve, even just say 2 or 3 games away, that automatically makes them that much stronger. So I really think I'd give it to them.
All right. And I'm going to ask Sam, who do you think is going to be the surprise team that, like I said, the underdog that can actually achieve Europe this season?
I'm going to go with Chaves. Everyone knows that they're a good team, but I think there's still a lot more to come from them. I feel like they were very underrated last season as well, and they were really tough to beat away for the big three as well. So I'm going to go with Chaves.
All right, fair enough. Now I'm just going to move on to questions, and that's going to be it. All right, so I've got this question from Patrick, P_S Ribeiro, and he asked Diane, which of the big three has had the best/worst transfer window so far?
Well, the best, I have to go with Sporting, because they've so far not lost anyone significant, and they brought in some big names. It remains to be seen if those big names can actually deliver, but I expect at least Dumbia and Marcos Acuna to to be great. And obviously, Coentrao and Mattia, if they get their shape together, they can obviously contribute to the sporting side.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah.
And the worst, I don't want to say Benfica just because they've lost so many crucial players, but so far they still lack a few defensive pieces before their team looks good enough to win the league. And of course, Porto, well, they've signed Vanna, and that's it. So
but they haven't sold anyone, so
yeah, they've sold André Silva though.
right.
So that's Ruben Neves. So, well, I expect more to come from both Benfica and Porto, and I'm supporting to sell at least one, if not two, key players.
All right. One more question for you. Obviously, what are your realistic expectations of the seleção in Russia? What do you think? Make the quarterfinals, semifinals? Do we have the chance of winning the trophy?
Well, I was not impressed too much by Portugal's performance at the Confederations Cup, but I wouldn't get too worried about it either, because they did play decent in some games, and against Chile they have had several players missing. But my expectations for the World Cup next year today is that Portugal might make it to a semi-final, but I don't expect much more than that. My minimum would be a quarter-final, because Portugal have such a great team of fantastic, talented players, especially in attack and at both fullbacks. I'm a bit worried about the centre back, but hopefully Paulo Oliveira turns out to be a great centre back for Eibar, so maybe he can contribute next year.
What I was going to ask, can we not? Maybe we should just play, Cedric, Nelson Semedo, somebody, and Guerreiro. I'd take that.
Yeah, just go all out attack.
Exactly. All right. Final question for you, Andy. Also comes from Mayan, and he asks, which stadium in Portugal is your favorite and why?
Oh, that's a tough one. I've actually been to do Dragão, the Luz, and José Alvalade, as well as Estádio Algarve. The last one was pretty in terms of architecture, very impressive.
Yeah.
But the atmosphere was not so good, because I traveled for the Taça da Liga semifinals in the end of January, so there were barely people in the stands. So the atmosphere wasn't too good, but I liked that stadium. But I think all of those four stadiums I visited, I think everyone are special in their own way. The Luz, because it has this luxury feeling, and a bit like the Emirates, I would say, and Alvalade because it has. Well, I don't know. It was something special and something I've never seen before, and I liked it really, really much. And the atmosphere was nothing like in the Algarve. So that was something to take from the game I was there. And for the Estádio do Dragão game, I went in 2013 for the title decider between.
Oh God!
And
you can look that up. You can look that up. You can look that up.
So that was my first ever game in Portugal, actually. So that couldn't be better.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been better.
It could have been. Okay.
All right. Well, that's gonna wrap it up. I'm really thankful that you took the time to join us, Jan. Also, obviously, want to thank Timo for coming on at such short notice. So you did speak a lot. See, told you.
Anytime.
And obviously, thanks Sam for sticking with me, I suppose.
It is a bit of a struggle at some point. No, I'm joking.
All right. Is there anything you guys would like to say before we end this episode?
Forza Sporting.
Really?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's a great ending. That's a great ending. All right. All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Have a good night.